Hello and welcome to episode 5 of A Cat and Her Yarn Respun, back from camping. You can find me as Kiara Panther on Ravelry and Instagram and other social media. And today is August 2nd. It's been a couple weeks since my last episode. I hadn't planned on it being quite that long. Unfortunately, as I mentioned in my last episode, I was getting ready to go camping at the beach for 5 days. And while I was still getting ready for that trip, my sister got a sudden job training opportunity that required her to be in a hotel for a few weeks. So her two sons came to live with me and my mother for a few weeks while she was in training. And they arrived while I was still getting ready. So between corralling a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old and still trying to get my daily Tour de Fleece spins in, I didn't feel like I had time to edit anything I might have been able to record. And I didn't want there to be a long, like a week or more between when I recorded something and when I uploaded it. So I decided to just not do another recording before I left, and then when I got back the boys were still here, so and then it was also, the temperature had also spiked way up, so there was only a small window in the mornings where it was cool enough for me to really record. Today it's been overcast most of the day. The clouds finally parted a little bit ago, but now the wind has picked up. So I hope it doesn't interfere too much with the audio recording. So I've got a lot to talk about. This is going to be my longest episode by far. And because my camera only records about 30 minutes at a time, I'm going to have to take a break in the middle. Yeah, I plan on this being more than 30 minutes long. So let's start with my camping trip. I had pre-prepared a whole bunch of food for my camping trip, and then the day before we left, we went to go buy a giant bag of charcoal, because a lot of the food I prepared were the tin foil packets. I cooked everything up and then wrapped them in tin foil packets and put them in the freezer. And when we got back from the store to buy the gigantic bag of charcoal, we saw the news report that just that morning they had banned all campfires at Oregon State Parks, and we were going to an Oregon State Park. So I pulled out my butane grill and we left the charcoal hibachi at home, and we left to go camping. And it was a beautiful drive there, nice and sunny, not too hot. We took Highway 34 from Philomath to the coast, which I'd never taken that part before. It was along the Alsea River, and it was just beautiful. The weather was perfect. We pull into Waldport, still sunny. We get onto Highway 99, right on the coast of Waldport, head south out of town, hit a wall of fog. And that wall of fog continued to the campground and past the campground for a couple of miles, but only a couple of miles. We explored further south to find that the fog bank was nowhere to be found, and it was nice and sunny on the beaches. But we went back north to our campsite, or back north to Waldport, and right about where Waldport started, the fog bank went away. So for the first 3 days of our camping trip, it was in the 50s during the day and foggy. And like the fog patches were literally, you could watch them just kind of cascading down onto the little roadway in the campground on the other side of our campsite, or sometimes even onto our tent. And there were points where I just felt like I was covered in dew. So that was fun. Not really. I had just gone beach camping a month before up in Washington State, and while it had been kind of cold at night, it hadn't been that bad during the day. So I hadn't packed my winter camping gear. So we kind of froze. It was okay at night. I had brought enough blankets, but I hadn't really packed a lot. I've only packed one long sleeve shirt and things like that, so it was pretty cold. I ended up wearing like all of the t-shirts I had brought all at once. Each day I traded which one was the underneath layer because I was so cold. And we went to a thrift store and I got some more long sleeve shirts, but we just weren't prepared for it to be quite that cold during the day. And what we would do is we would explore the beaches north and south with the heater cranked up in the truck. And then when we get back to the campsite, we'd kind of hang out in the cab of the truck where it was A, warmer, and B, we didn't have the wind coming off of the beach to make us even colder. But luckily, halfway through the trip, the burn ban was lifted for the coastal state parks, at least. So we were able to get some firewood and started a fire and all the other stuff. So we were able to have the kind of camping trip we'd planned on, where we were huddled around the campfire instead of in the truck. I continued to spin, and I actually finished part of my spindle project. I finished the rainbow samplers. And that ended up looking like this. I took it off the spindle so I could start spinning what the ply is going to be. But it was a pretty full cup, as you can see. I filled that all the way down to that. So, and this is a little bit indented in here, so this part was up in there. Pretty filled up the entire width of it. And unfortunately, because I took it out, the innards are going away a bit, but you can see the kind of see the rainbow. Because I'm in the shadow, you can't see the rainbow very well. But I'll insert a picture of it in the sun where you can see all the different colors that are in this one. So, quite happy with that. Going to have to wind it onto a ball soon. And then I started the silk blend that I'm going to play it with. Now, originally I was going to do Tusa silk, but I decided I only had a small amount of that. I didn't think it was going to be enough for the whole project. And I decided I also wanted to use a Tusa silk for another project I've got coming up. So I found this silk blend and decided to spin that up. Well, unfortunately, it's coming out a little, I don't know if you can see that, but it's, yeah, see that little nubbin? It's coming out a little, well, nubbiny. I don't know what the word I want is right now for it, because it's been in storage for so long that it kind of got compacted. So this is one of the bats, and it's, yeah, I don't know how well that'll show up. It's kind of okay on this side, but on that side it's just not drafting well out of this at all. So I'm going to have to recard it. It's okay in places, and then all of a sudden it would just be kind of a little bit tangled, hard to draft, and I would get one of those little slubs in it. Slubby. I think that's the word you're supposed to use. And while you can get, you know, slubs in silk, this is, I'm pretty sure it's a 50-50. So I should be able to draft it smoother than that. I don't know, we'll see. I'm going to recard it, and I'm going to do it a little bit on my hand cards first to make sure that it's not going to tear. Should be enough wool in it that it shouldn't tear the silk, but we'll see. And then if that does okay, I'm going to run it through my drum carder. And I think there was 2.5 of these bats, so hopefully that'll be enough to get enough yardage that I'll be able to play it with the rainbow sampler okay. So I finished that while I was on the beach. And I did go swimming while I was beach camping. You cannot get me near the ocean without me at the very least taking my shoes off and walking through it. I really prefer to get like waist deep or higher in it. I'd actually prefer to go swimming, but it's been so long since I've actually lived close enough to where I could go to the beach on a regular basis that I'm not quite back up to being able to get past the waves and really swim. But it is cold here in Oregon, like it was in Washington when I went swimming last month. Your legs kind of go numb after a bit. You can't really stay in too long or you risk hypothermia. But I've gotten hypothermia in July before swimming in glacier-fed creeks because I refused to get out of cold water. In fact, that time that I got hypothermia, I was dating a guy who was a member of the Polar Bear Club, and even he got out of the creek. And I stayed in for another half an hour or so, and then when I went to get out, when you stretch your arms out and you feel like you're being electrocuted, that might be a sign that you have hypothermia. And then when we got in the car and we turned on the heater and I had my sweatshirt on and I still couldn't get warm. Yeah, I had hypothermia. Does that stop me from getting into the ocean when it's really cold? Even though it's July and shouldn't be, but it's Oregon and Washington and it's cold near water. No, it doesn't stop me. But the cool thing about the campground is it had free hot showers, so I just kind of unthawed in the hot showers for a while, and I was fine. Coming back out of the surf, I got, each day that I went swimming, I went a little bit higher than waist deep, I'd say. Kind of the waves slapping in your face. You jump up to try and keep them slapping in your face, kind of depth. And so I was, my hair's all wet and everything, and I'm coming back out of the beach, and I've got these people that are in their scarves wrapped around their head and freezing. And going, oh my God, wasn't it so cold in there? I'm like, yeah, it was cold, but I can't help it. There's an ocean. I have to swim in it. I just have to. It's the happiest I am. I mean, seriously, that first day, you could not erase the smile off my face. It was almost literally all the way up to my ears. And I just love it. I love it so much. And every day, people were like, oh my goodness, you were making me cold just watching you in there. Yeah, but like I said, I didn't go too deep. One, there was no lifeguards, and the one time that I lost my footing, I had a hard time getting back up because the undertow was a little bit strong, so I didn't want to risk it. My fiance only went in with me one day, and after that, he was like, despite his protective instincts, he was like, nope, not following you this time. He sat on the beach and dug himself a moat around his chair with his shovel while he watched me wade up to my armpits in the water. I had fun on that part. And the sun finally came out about the third or fourth day. And it didn't really warm up a whole bunch because there were still kind of remnants of fog. Like one fog bank went away and the other one came in a few hours later. So it was still kind of cold the whole weekend. But we did have fun walking on the beach that first day. I wish I'd taken my camera, but because I knew I was probably going to be wading in the water, even though I wasn't in my bathing suit, I knew I was going to get my shorts wet, and yeah, I did. I didn't take my camera, and I'm kind of kicking myself now because at the far end of the beach, there's a creek that dumps into the beach, and if you go underneath the bridge that holds Highway 99, on the other side of it is this beautiful like wetland area with wildflowers, and I saw some sort of raptor. I couldn't tell what it was though, and it was just beautiful, butterflies and dragonflies and other stuff. And the other cool thing was the bridge. There were 3 generations of this bridge that I could have photographed, and it fascinated me. First was like there were still 2 of the original 4 wooden posts from the original wooden bridge that was obviously just a single lane, because they were really close together. They were in between the newer concrete pylons that they had to hold up the bridge, and they were just the stumps of it that had obviously rotted off. But they hadn't seen any reason to dig it out of the creek bed, so it was just sitting there kind of being protected by the concrete pylons. And then if you looked really close underneath, you could see that the original concrete bridge that they'd made wasn't as wide originally. The way they had like the curves to it, and then it went kind of underneath, and there was like this little gap, and you could see where there was this other, they had added another maybe 2 feet on either side of concrete off the edge of this bridge. And so I thought that was kind of cool. So it was originally like a narrow the concrete bridge was like a narrow 2-lane, maybe one with a shoulder kind of width, and then they'd expanded it so that people going along Highway 99 at 60 miles an hour could pass each other comfortably without being afraid they're going to veer off into the oncoming traffic. And the original concrete bridge was wooden underneath, but of course they've paved it over with the tarmac blacktop now. But the base of it was wooden 4x4s, I think, maybe. I'd say they were probably 4x4s, thereabouts. I don't think they were 8x8s, 4x4s. So that was kind of cool to look at. You just kind of look at underneath, and I really wish I'd gotten a picture of all that. There's just so much just around that area. And I planned on walking back down to take pictures, and I never did. We ended up, anytime I wasn't actually in the water, during the day, we ended up exploring the towns around the campsite. We explored more of Walport. We explored Yakuts. We explored Newport and someplace south of Yakuts, and we checked out all the day-use beaches and several of the campsites. And the reason we're going to these campsites is because my fiance is a veteran, and he qualifies for a free Oregon State camping pass. So he gets 10 days a month free, and then at any federal type campground we get half price off, plus we get free parking at like the day use ones, for if you want to go swimming at the day use ones. So we were checking that all out to see if we want to come back for just a day trip for me to go swimming versus spending the night somewhere, which places we wanted to go, and if we did want to go camping again, which ones we want to go to. And we're talking this morning about doing another trip in September. He goes to college. He took the summer off, but the fall break starts on September 24th. So we could fit in another camping trip at the beginning of September. And I think we're going to go to one of the more north, one of the ones that is closer to Newport, might be north of Newport. Can't remember now. It's looks like it's a little further from the road, but there's some of the campsites are actually fairly close to the trail that leads to the beach, and it's not horribly far. And I think actually being just a little bit further from the highway would be nice. Where we were camped, I actually had nightmares of cars driving off the highway and landing on top of my tent. I was that close. My campsite was that close. The other campsites, there's only like maybe 5 or 6 that are that close to the road. And unfortunately, that was the reason we were able to find one that had 5 days available, because nobody wanted to be that close. So unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of sleep. The semis the air brakes would wake us up in the middle of the night several times, and cars honking their horns because they passed badly and almost hit oncoming traffic. And so it was not a very peaceful camping trip for that aspect of it. So the other one I want to camp at is, you can see some of the campgrounds from the road, but it's definitely far enough off, and the trail to the beach is not horrible. It's completely doable. So we're going to try that one. And then, let's see, while we were exploring, we had breakfast one day in Newport because I found an Irish pub. And whenever I find an Irish pub that has a traditional Irish breakfast, I have to eat it. Because when I went to Ireland, I fell in love with black pudding. For those of you who don't know what black pudding is, it's not pudding, it's a sausage. Another name for it is actually blood sausage. It's a combination of meat, a little bit of blood, and the oats, and some spices put inside the sausage casing. And there's black and white pudding, and the spices are a little bit different and things like that. And so this place had a traditional Irish breakfast with black and white pudding, and they had brown sauce, which I discovered in Ireland as well. The only place I can get it here is HP sauce, which the stuff imported to America just says HP sauce. It doesn't say HP brown sauce like I seem to remember it saying in Ireland. So I have to remember to ask for HP sauce and not brown sauce, so that people know what I'm talking about. But they had the HP sauce, and they had all the things that I remember from Ireland. Some of the other Irish pubs in America they might have a black and white pudding and a couple of things, but every place kind of does it a little bit differently, and they add weird things that I never ran across in Ireland, and they take away other things that was kind of a staple. And what was cool about this place is it had the black and white pudding, the 2 eggs, which is standard, the Irish bacon. It's their equivalent of bacon. It's more like a thin ham, really. It's really good. Another kind of sausage. It's a little bit closer to American sausage links. Baked beans. A lot of Irish pubs in America, I don't get the baked beans, and these were good baked beans. And this place had tomato. Usually, if I do find it in America, it's just like a couple slices of tomato that are warmed up on the grill really quick. But this was an entire tomato that they had warmed up and then cut into 8s, so you could eat it easier. And I was loving that. And they also included mushrooms. I can't remember off the top of my head if I ever had mushrooms when I was in Ireland as part of the breakfast. I think I've had it in America a few times. These were whole mushrooms, and they were good. I like mushrooms, so that wasn't a big deal. And then the Irish bread. And I've discovered that there's kind of 2 different kinds of Irish bread. There's the brown bread, and then there's the kind of buttermilk bread. And this was the buttermilk style bread. And I've had better bread. Oh well. It actually tasted good when I left it on the plate where the mushrooms had been. For some reason, it came across as maple syrupy. The mushrooms didn't taste like maple syrup, but the juice that the bread absorbed from where the mushrooms had been tasted like maple syrup. So it made the bread taste better. And even though it was 11 o'clock in the morning, the Irish pub had my favorite Irish cider on tap, which is Magners, known as Bulmers in Ireland. So I had a half pint of that with my breakfast. But hey, other people were having, Baileys in their coffee, so I can have my cider. So overall, it was a fun trip. We went all the way up to Lincoln City on our way home, so we finished at the coast and looked at more campgrounds and that kind of thing. We hit a few thrift stores. One of the things I found at one of the thrift stores was this cute little pitcher and sugar bowl. Little miniature pitcher and sugar bowl. Now when I go outside with my tea, I've got like a little, I've got a 1 cup and a 2 cup little teapot. And so I'll just fill it up with water, let it steep while I'm outside, either watching a podcast or spinning or whatever I'm doing. And I don't want to run back into the house for my cream and sugar. So I had bought a little pitcher that was about this size, but it didn't match my tea set. It's orange, and my tea set's purple. So when I saw this, and it was only $6 for the set, I thought this was perfect because I can add my powdered honey, because I like powdered honey, it's less messy, into this, and then I can put my cream into this, and it's just enough for 2 cups. I don't add a whole bunch to my tea. And I can keep them outside with me and have my tea. So I was very happy to find this. the purple isn't quite a match for my tea set. It's more in the blue blurple range, and my tea set's in comparison more in the red purple range. But it still matches better than the orange one. The orange one was bothering me, but it was the only one I could find that size that worked. So, c'est la vie. So I did that, and then I also found a bicycle at one of the garage sales. It's a Giant Cypress. The Giant is the name of the bicycle brand, and then the style of bicycle is a Cypress. It's a man's bicycle. It's a little bit tall for me, but it's not too bad. But it has a really nice seat, and they're really good bikes, and it was very cheap in comparison. We were going to like pawn shops and things, and any place that had, you know, used bikes, and they wanted 3 times what I paid for this bike for these ratty, beaten up, rusted 10 speeds. And this is a 15 speed with really good shocks. I don't know if they're called shocks on bikes. I don't know that much about bikes, but we've been looking into getting bikes because my fiance is not supposed to be hiking anymore, but there's some trails that I really want to take that allow bicycles and things like that. So when I saw this bicycle, I snagged it. So I'll probably insert a picture of it because it's a pretty bike. It's a nice maroon color. So let's see, I think that was most of the stuff we got at the thrift stores. We hit 3 or 4. Because even if I don't need stuff, I like hitting thrift stores and antique shops and things like that. And I think we got a game. It was kind of a trivia game. And we asked each other, we took turns asking each other the questions. And it was only $1, so we'd pretty much gone through all the cards by the end of the camping trip. So we just left it by the trash. Didn't put it in the trash, but left it by in case somebody wanted to. It was practically brand new from the thrift store. It's like a couple of the cards had been opened, but some of the other cards hadn't been. A lot of things were still in plastic. It's just not, it wasn't okay. It was like a truth or, you know, true or false. You know, you're pretty much supposed to say, do you think this is true or false out of these questions? And there was a way you're supposed to keep score if you played it properly, but we just asked each other the questions. So that was the camping trip, and then we came home, and my nephews were still here, and the temperature had skyrocketed while we were gone. It's like the first day I'm there, I'm freezing at the beach, and my mother's sweltering in 98-degree heat, which Oregon's not really known, you know, Western Oregon is not really known for having that much, but occasionally it gets above the 90s. And lately, more so in the last few years, I've noticed. I know it got to like 105 at one point, and I've been in the Pacific Northwest since I was 20-ish. Yeah. So, on and off between moving back and forth between Georgia and the Seattle area, and now 2 years here in Oregon. I've lived in the Pacific Northwest for 15 years-ish. Whereabouts? 15 to 20 years? Yeah. A little less than 20. And, you know, there'd be like a week where it might get into the low 90s up in Seattle. And then it wouldn't do that again for several years. And lately, like every year, it's been getting into the 90s for like a week, or 105, and it's been really weird. So it hit 98 while we were gone here, and it's been hot here. So I only had like a little bit of time in the mornings to record, and with the kids, I just didn't want to do that. So now I'm recording. And so I continued with the Tour de Fleece, and I continued with this orange project that I'm spinning, and I got one of the skeins done. Now to recap, I originally bought this colorway, which has all these pretty, like, orangey reds. It has this really pretty red, which is not coming through on the camera at all. It's much deeper than that. And then these oranges, and this black, and this yellow here. And when I first spun a skein of it up, and plied it up, and measured the yardage, and then subtracted divided that by the overall ounces, I realized that the final yarn that I was going to get was not going to be long enough for the arm warmers I wanted to make for it. So I got this colorway, which also has black and orangey reds and peaches. And you can see here, it kind of shows the difference is a lot more pronounced in real life than I'm getting the camera to show up on. See, that almost looks the same, unfortunately. See back here you can kind of see a little bit different, but it's still much more pronounced. This is a much deeper red, whereas this is a very almost pinky red, light pinky red, and this is a much deeper red in comparison. And they both have, blacks and some, let's see, those two colors are the same there, but there's more of it, and then this shades into more of a yellow, and this has a kind of a lighter yellow, but it's darker. Let's see if there's a patch that, let's see. Okay, so continuing on with these two colorways. This is the original. This I found to complement it, and the colors are really, really close. So that gives me like 8.5 ounces, I believe. 8.4, 8.6 ounces to work with for what I wanted. And so for the Tour de Fleece, I plied up 2 singles of the original orange BFL and 2 singles of the second colorway I got, which is called Maine Lobster, and I don't know what kind of wool it is, it's not as soft. And then I plied 1 single from the orange BFL to 1 single of the Maine Lobster, and did that twice, and then I plied those two plies together to make a 4-ply cable yarn. And I finished the first skein of it, and it looks like this. Actually, it looks like bigger than this, but I did a swatch up. But see that? I've got some pictures I will post for the release. I'll put links to my project page on Ravelry that shows some of the better pictures, but I'm really happy with that, how it turned out. The original part of the orange BFL I had spun like 10 years ago, and I hadn't spun any of the Maine Lobster, so the skill difference was quite a bit, and I tried to go back and kind of draft and spin what I had already spun to make it a little bit more cohesive, whatever word I want is. And I didn't quite succeed. There's a lot of thick and thin places in here, and I'm not really happy with that part. I'm also not happy with the fact that even though I knew I needed to overspin the plies because I'd be twisting in the opposite direction when I plied the 2 plies together to make the 4-ply, that it would untwist it, and in some places I didn't do it enough, and I literally have like just blank sections, big fluffy sections that are not twisted together at all. So I definitely have to remember with the second skein to really just overspin, overply, a little bit of extra spin for the final thing. But it still came out with a really squishy yarn. I'm so happy with it. It just came out so nice and big, and it just bloomed wonderfully. It did unfortunately bloom a bit thicker than I had planned on. Wow, I can't even. Yeah, this is showing like on my control card, it's showing like a 6, whereas that section, the one I had before I washed it, it was on average 11 WPI wraps per inch. Now it's more like a 6. So I originally intended this to be a DK yarn for the DK arm warmers I wanted, and now it's more of a worsted, maybe even slightly thicker worsted. So I cast on the arm warmers to see, and yeah, they're gonna be it would be way too big. And I went looking for more arm warmer patterns in worsted weight that were similar to that stitch pattern. Nothing that is like that is still available. I found 3 that were close, and all 3 of them are patterns that are no longer being published. the links are broken to whatever blog there used to be, or they might have at one time been sold on Ravelry, but they're not anymore. All that's left is the Ravelry entry for them. So I went and I knitted up a swatch. I started with US 6 down here and ended up at 10.5 up here. And average every inch, kinda, sorta. We'll see. So, let's see if I can. Can't really. Again, I'm not getting the true color of this. I can't kinda get it to focus on the stitches here. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'm really happy with how even the stitches have come out. You still can't quite see the detail of the cabling on the camera, but I'm loving it, and it's so squishy. And at 10.5, I think it'll have a nice drape. And all the mistakes of the thick and thin spinning really are covered up in the knitting. By the time you get to the knitting, it just makes this wonderful speckled color, which unfortunately is just not translating too well in this camera. You're seeing some of the dark and light patches, but you're not seeing the individual spots on the yarn like I can see in real life. But I took a picture of this. I can't remember if it showed it that well either, but that'll be on my Ravelry page too, and I might insert it in the video. We'll see. But I'm really happy with it. The problem now is to find a new pattern to go with it. I might have enough for a cowl. I kind of was thinking a shawl, but if I do it with a shawl, I'm going to want to combine it with another yarn. And I have this that it's the only other yarn I cabled up. It's blue. Kind of a blue and brown. Maybe those two colors together. You know, and some sort of stripey, one of those, you know, thick stripe, like a thick stripe and then individual little stripes, kind of shawl maybe. Or I can add on some other colors that I've got and turn it into a sweater. One of the other podcasters, Amber from the Yarn Hoarder, that's what she did with all or most of her Tortoise Fleece spins from last year. She made it into a sweater, and that's what she plans on doing with this year's spins. She made a 2-ply worsted so that she could make a stripy sweater with all the different colors. And so maybe I mean, because I would love to have more of this color and make a sweater out of it. I just love how squishy it is, and I just love it so much. So maybe some sort of striped sweater with it. This is what the colorway looks like. It's really kind of light lavendery blurple, and a tan, and then this like a mocha maroon. It looks red and brown, but not reddish brown. Can't get. It's gotten too late in the day, unfortunately. I had to wait for my nephew to be gone this morning so I could record. I can't get that reddish brown to show up, but it's really pretty. And that is a bat from CJ Kopech Creations. She's not really doing bats anymore, but yeah. And that's Montana Moon. It's 100% merino, and I got 6 ounces of it. So I'm gonna make a shawl. Maybe add those 2 colors to a sweater, along with another CJ Kopech Creations bat I have called Irish Morn, which is in storage right now. Oh, the other thing, right before I left to go camping, and I went to the storage unit to get the silk blend for the spindle project, I discovered that my shelving unit in my storage that I had made to get all of my fiber off the floor and have more floor space in the storage unit, well, the top shelves had fallen over. It was just plywood in between my Rubbermaid tubs that I wasn't planning on looking at very often. because I've had to move in with my mother because of her health, all of my stuff is in storage. There's not a lot of room in this it's a 2-bedroom single wide trailer. Very small bedrooms. I can only have a few projects here at any given time. The rest of it has to be in the storage shed, which is luckily just down the street, so I can get things quickly, but that's the way that is. But we are going to upgrade soon. Hopefully by the first of the year, we'll have a house that'll have plenty of room for my studio space. So, continuing on with the Tour de Fleece, I won a couple prizes. One of the prizes I won is this beautiful BFL. I love spinning BFL. And it's like a pastel version of the dark end of the rainbow, and I love the dark end of the rainbow. You've got these purples, and these turquoises, and the more sedate blues. Oh, that gets the colors really well right there. It's just gorgeous. It's called Ice Palace, and it's by Fiber Nymph Dye Works, and she has the 90% Knitting podcast. Like I said, it's the color Ice Palace. So that was one of the prizes I got, and thank you to the prize donator for this, and for shipping it to me twice because I messed up on the address I sent it. So yeah, that's one of the prizes I got. Now hopefully the wind has died down enough that you can hear me over the wind again. So I got another prize. I actually got 3 prizes for the Tour de Fleece entries. And the second one arrived just as I was getting ready to record, so I thought I'd open it on film. And I've never actually seen a picture of this, so I don't know exactly what I'm getting. Hopefully, we'll see. And unfortunately, the wind keeps picking up. It's not quite as loud as it was a second ago. Oh, it's got little bells. Oh my goodness. So it's a felted project, it looks like. Here's a little acorn. And here's another little acorn. Oh, he's so cute. It's a little felted gnome. He's got a little bell on his head. Isn't this adorable? Oh my goodness, that's so cute. Oh, he's so cute. With his hair and his beard. Probably mohair locks. Oh, that's so cute. And this little... Okay, hopefully the wind has died down again. It got so bad it knocked over something. But, so here's the little gnome and his little acorns. So that's one of the other prizes I got from the Tour de Fleece. So cute. And then also, it was my birthday just before I left to go camping. And several of my presents got here late. One of the first presents I got, actually just before my birthday, was this beautiful purse from my mother. Silver leather. I like backpack purses. So we saw this at like a Marshall's, and I fell in love with it. I love backpack purses, and my other backpack was ugly, not a purse, and bigger than this. And this is like a really good size for most of my trips. It fits enough room for my knitting projects and all other stuff. So I really like this. And then when my sister dropped off my nephews, she brought me the birthday present from her, and she got me this little backpack purse. Isn't he adorable? It's an Ewok from Star Wars. I can't get it very well because my spin. Anyway, here's his face. So there. And so he's this nice little backpack purse. He doesn't have any pockets in him, unfortunately. There's just this little side pocket, 2 side pockets. The other one has a little inside pocket like most purses have, and then the front pocket. So I had to get a little like mesh thing to keep all my stuff contained inside of them, but that's not a huge deal. and he's adorable, and I got so many compliments on him. I took him with me when we went camping, and whenever we went to a store, you know, I was like, oh, your purse is so cute. I'm like, thank you. It's a birthday present from my sister. So it's adorable. I love it. He makes me smile whenever I look at him. He's just so cute. And then the other thing I got for my birthday, which arrived while I was gone, was the other birthday present from my mother. And I have been wanting these for a while. You can see part of it is here. This is an Acroworks bobbin. I got 2 Acroworks bobbins, and these are flat pack bobbins. They're 3D printed, and so these come off. Both of them come off, and you can stack them in this little case. So their little case kind of pack that flat and put it in this little case like this, and that's as much room as it takes up. And this has been awesome also for when I was knitting. I could just put this through. When I make yarn balls, I always use toilet paper holders, hold toilet paper rolls on my yarn winder, so that if I need to take it off for whatever reason, I can put it back on easily. And this also makes it really easy for me to put these together like this, and then I put it through here. And now I can use this kind of as a yarn holder for my ball. And where I can use it on the yarn holder is on the Acroworks Pack Flat Daisy Cake that my mother also got me. I'm so happy. I've been wanting one of these for a while. I've been wanting the bobbins for a while. But then looking, you know, when I would go onto the website to list after the bobbins, I saw this flat pack cake, and it's just beautiful. So see, it's just this thin, and it comes in a little black case with 2 pull tab kind of handles on it, so you can put it in and out. It's a really snug case. But these things come up. We've got 4. And just put these things down here to hold them in place. And then you put your bobbins on there. And I use this for finishing applying this on the, didn't have them the bobbins because I made the singles and then transferred them onto the toilet paper rolls on my ball winder, because I don't like the lazy Kate that came with my wheel. It's not tensioned or anything like that. And these are awesome. You can tension them with these things. You put it on here. Oops. Anyways, and you can put them on different places, and how fit down put them, they won't go as far. And you can also use these for spindles. You can apply from spindles by putting them through this little hoop here. But it does make it so it doesn't, there's some other things you can put in there that makes the tension even more. That came with it. Haven't experimented with that yet, because so far I've needed, it's been just enough tension while still flying out, that I haven't needed more tension. So I love this. I absolutely love this. And then when you're done with it, you just take these things off. You put them back in the little grooves here. You take the bobbins off. You flip up these little things, and you start. You just these things. You just hit this thing here. This part comes up. See that? Okay. That comes down. That comes up. Put this down. And that. And then, like I said, you put those little tension tamers here in these grooves here. And there. It's all flat. All flat again. And then it just fits perfectly in one of my new backpack purses. And with the bobbin, and then I can just set it up and knit from it like a yarn holder for knitting, or when I go to ply, I just sit it on the table and I can ply from it. And it worked really well so far. It's made everything I've done with it just absolutely wonderful, and I've been loving it so much. It's really cool. I've been wanting it for a while, and I'm so happy that I've got it now. Okay, so I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. So I'm just going to continue spinning this orange, figuring out what next pattern I want to make with it. And there's that. So I'm probably going to try and make do this weekly now that Tour de Fleece is over. We'll see. That's going to be my attempt. And the wind's picking up again, so I'm going to go ahead and end this anyways. So I hopefully will see you next week. I hope you enjoyed looking at all the stuff I got and hearing about my camping trip. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.